Hello, it's Thursday afternoon. Welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. We are Joy News, home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, sponsors of the Anti-LGBT bill in Parliament have issued a 24-hour ultimatum to the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, to pull down billboards they say promotes the activities of the LGBT plus community in Ghana. We hear why the LGBTQ community says it is well and fully established here in Ghana. We'll have analysis on it shortly. Also coming up, the Ghana Meteorological Agency, GMET, is demanding the repayment of some 80 million cedis debts owed by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the Ghana Airports Company Limited. And we will definitely talk about this. Panic among some parents with the newborns as well in the northern region as JoyNews sources review shortage of oral polio vaccine there in that part of the country. It's all coming up, plus updates here on The Pulse. I'm Blessed Sogah. As always, The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. Don't forget as well that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles. It's at Joy News on TV, Twitter us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Please stay for details. Well, this afternoon, ranking member for Parliament's Works in the Housing Committee is taking on the Finance Minister for refusing to release funds to fix drainage systems to end Accra's perennial flooding situation. Well, we have details as he laments Parliament is helpless due to the attitude of the Finance Minister in not turning up in the House to respond to questions. Ranking member on Parliament's Works and Housing Committee says the blame for the devastating effects of the recent flooding in Accra should be laid squarely at the doorstep of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. JoyNews intercepted a number of documents this week detailing many requests from the Works and Housing Ministry for funds to undertake some projects to make the city resistant to flooding. All the letters, as we're understanding and getting, and the requests were not responded to, and flooding continuously wreaks havoc across the capital. Now, according to the ranking member on the Works and Housing Committee, Vincent Opong-Esamwa, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta simply does not prioritize protecting lives and properties, but has funds for a national cathedral project.
These requests, the requests that were made, releases were not made during that time. So all the situation we are having in Accra is as a result of these constraints that have been created, not by the minister for that ministry, but the minister for finance. Let me tell you, the biggest problem of MPP as a government is the finance minister. He prioritizes where he should release money and where he should not be releasing money to. And if the situation that we find ourselves in Accra this year especially is anything to go by, then I should tell you this government has failed, and let me say the finance minister has failed Ghanaians because he decided not to prioritize the release of funds for, especially to clear the drains and other works that were supposed to be taking place.
What if the argument of the finance ministry is simply that there are simply not enough funds? They're trying to mobilize, and as and when they get money, the Works and Housing Minister will get his share.
My brother, you know, a lot of things are happening in this government. If you interact with some of the ministers, I call the finance minister as the prime minister. The president is just a figurehead. He decides where money should go, and if you are not in the good books of the finance minister, definitely you are not going to get the money. Because talk about a government that is so responsible and would like to work on the welfare or the needs of its citizens, and you don't prioritize issues of flooding because it has been a perennial issue. So whilst we are getting to the major rains, all that we need to do is to fix the issue before it's sets in. Yes. And the destruction that rains this year has caused individual properties. you can't just put volume on it. It's so much. So any responsible government will prioritize this area than to be thinking about releasing almost over 200 million to the construction of the National Cathedral.
Also, we're asking what exactly will the committee do to get the finance minister to release funds to the Works and Housing Ministry to undertake the outline project. Vincent Oponga Samoa says the committee is helpless as several invitations to the minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, to appear before the House have gone or falling on deaf ears.
Fortunately, even the Parliament is helpless. I've filed a question for almost 1 year for the minister to come and answer in Parliament. They've admitted the questions for several times. You can't even explain.
The finance minister.
The finance minister will not even appear. He will only come there when he needs something. Even when a loan, he's even looking for loan, seeking approval, he himself will not even come. I'm telling you. And it looks as if it has become a thing God, and no one is able to even say anything about the finance minister. So it will be very surprising to see any solution to any of these major problems that we are talking about. Unless you are in the good books of the finance minister, nothing is going to happen. I'm only praying that they will prioritize the issues that are so much. You know, you talk about National Cathedral. Who cares about National Cathedral? We are talking about flooding. We are talking about our roads. You know, the moment there's flooding, even the roads project that we have in the capital that we have invested so much money,
Destroyed.
it's destroyed. You look at what happened at Dansoman and other places. Even though we are putting a lot of resources to construct these roads, but because of flooding, we lose almost most of this investment. So prioritization of that ministry by allocating resources so that we can open up drains so that the volume of water that is coming from uphill towards the sea, it will be able to contain it so that at least we can protect lives and property.
Well, so let's cross over now to Parliament. Obviously, Kwaku Asante has some updates for us as to whether or not the minority and some members of Parliament as well, if they've been successful in getting the finance minister at least a response from his outfit. Kwaku, what can you tell us about the situation as we see?
So, Blessed, one of the biggest issues this week in Parliament has been the refusal or inability of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to appear before the House and answer questions. He's one of the ministers that has a lot of questions to answer from members from both sides of the House. This week, he was programmed to answer some of the questions. He wasn't able to. We're told last week the situation was similar. And so when the Deputy Majority Leader read the business statement for the week, he programmed him again for next week. We are expecting that he will be there to answer questions. But just last, you heard Honorable Vincent Oponga Samoa, the ranking member on the Works and Housing Committee, say their side have tried their best to try and get the finance minister to come to the floor. Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubara actually described the finance minister as having been made a tin god who does not respect Parliament. And so it became a back and forth of a sort between both sides of the House, where the majority is taken by the finance minister and explaining that he has some key issues that he has to deal with at the ministry. But, I mean, zeroing it down to the specific issue of flooding, we know we are in June and July, there will be a lot of rainfall in Accra that could wreak more havoc on the city. The minority say they are going to continue to push to ensure that the budget that was approved by Parliament and the amounts that were earmarked for the Works and Housing Ministry actually gets to the ministry to do that. But the concerns are that the rains have already started, and when you do some of these works during the rainy season, you end up losing money because the rains will destroy some of these constructions works that you are doing. And so it's become sort of a tussle between both sides on how best they can be able to exact some form of accountability from Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. We are expecting next week when he comes to the floor, as he has been programmed, some of these answers will be given, Blessed.
Well, Kwaku, so how about other options that the MPs may be trying to explore now? What exactly are they attempting if the finance minister fails to show up?
So there are talks on the minority front bench about pressure from the bank benches to sort of file for a motion of censure on the finance minister. There's not so much of a conclusion or a closure on that. The minority have not decided exactly what strategy they are going to use. But if you look at Parliament this week, there were a number of bills that were to be laid by the finance minister himself. He was not there. His deputy minister was there. There were a few instances where other ministers had to do that for him. And so the minority now have to decide what a strategy will be for them going forward in terms of how they can do this. There's a talk of censure, but can they succeed given the position that the majority have taken when it comes to the finance minister? Already, there is a vote of censure motion against health minister that have not even been discussed deliberately on the floor. And so if you're going to move another set motion against the finance minister, or do you have a chance to succeed? That is something Haruna Idrisu, Muntaka Mubarak, and the minority front bench have to decide what they have to do. But another option that is available to them is to get the finance minister to appear before the committee, even if it's in camera, to answer some of those questions. But it's not something that they've also had conclusion on, because according to the majority leadership, the finance minister has to deal with a few things. And in terms of programming him to appear before some of these committees, some of these decisions would have to be delayed for some time. And so today when Parliament closed, they were not able to have a sort of conclusion in terms of how to progress on some of these issues. But a number of other issues came up before you leave us, having to do with the roads minister having been dragged before the Parliament's Assurance Committee, because in 2021 he made a promise about fixing a road in the Solar Tona Kalba constituency. The road has still not been fixed, and the MP is up in arms against the minister. He has dragged him before the Parliament's Assurance Committee to force his hands to work on that road. And so those are some of the issues that Parliament will be looking at when they come back next week, because tomorrow is Friday. Ordinarily, they should be sitting, but they are not sitting because they are all joining the Lands and Natural Resources Minister to plant trees. And so when they resume next week, these are the issues that will be at the top of the agenda.
Well, Kwaku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent, giving us the latest from the House in terms of how the MPs are having some challenges with the finance minister. We'll definitely get some more updates on that, plus get some reactions. Obviously, we'll be bringing you some more updates, but it's time now to also deal with some more issues that are coming up this afternoon. Sponsors of the anti-LGBT bill in Parliament have actually issued a 24-hour ultimatum to Inspector General of Police Dr. Akufo-Addo to pull down billboards they say promotes the activities of LGBT plus community here in Ghana. Now, this follows the erection of giant billboards on major roads in the country in commemoration of the Gay Pride Month, which falls in June each year. Now, one of the billboards sited at the end of the Tema-Accra-bound side of the motorway has rainbow colors with the text, when all Ghanaians are treated equally, no matter where they are or who they love, that's true freedom. Now, one of the sponsors of the bill, Sam George, wants the billboard actually pulled down. Here's why.
The points must be made clear that our constitution is clear. Our constitution and our laws in Ghana are clear. The constitution is clear about what is acceptable culturally and what is culturally acceptable. Under Article 26, Article 11 of the Constitution are clear. When you look at our Criminal Offences Act as well, Section 104 of the Criminal Offences Act make it clear that homosexuality and bestiality are illegal even as we speak today. And so any advertorial that seeks to promote anything contrary to what our Criminal Offences Act deems right and what our culture and tradition deems right and the Constitution deems right is an affront to the Constitution. And we're enjoined by the Constitution, I believe in Article 3, to rise up in defense of the Constitution anytime we see any activity or action that is inimical to the Constitution. And that's why we have given a 24-hour notice to the authorities from the IGP to the MC for the area to let them know that that billboard should not have been erected in the first place, or the advertorial on the billboard should not have been erected in the first place. And in 24 hours, if we do not see action taking, this has been in the news for over 72 hours. We've not seen anything. We've officially drawn the attention to it today. Failure to act within the next 24 hours will see us as citizens rise up in defense of the Constitution and take down that billboard.
Oh, so you would want to take it down after 24 hours?
If it is not taken down by the MC and the police service, we will take it down. Because we cannot for the life of us. Would you feel comfortable to see a billboard promoting terrorism or promoting armed robbery or promoting money laundering? I mean, that's an affront to our Constitution. And as Ghanaian citizens, the Constitution enjoins us to rise up in defense of the Constitution. And so we'll be acting constitutionally.
Well, so it means that the assembly that gave permit might have also flouted the law. What do you intend to do with regards to how you handle that assembly?
Well, 2 days ago, I granted an interview on your network to Evans Mensah and MFR Power. And on that call was a gentleman, I think his name is Donko So, who claimed to be the convener for the LGBTQ plus rights movement in Ghana. And he owned up to saying that they sponsored that billboard. We're asking the Attorney General and the IGP to immediately commence criminal prosecutions of that individual. Again, we are asking that whichever municipal director approved this billboard to go up without necessarily being minded about what it is that was the material must face the requisite sanctions within the local government service. Again, we're asking the Advertisers Association Guild to take immediate actions against their member who owns that billboard and put it up. And we're asking the Assembly to as well withdraw the license, the permit for that company in hosting this billboard. People cannot act as though Ghana is a banana republic. We have laws, and the laws must work.
But the Assembly knew it and they went ahead to give the permit. Why aren't we dealing with the Assembly as well?
That's why we are saying that whoever it is who gave the permit within that assembly must be made to face the full sanctions within the Local Government Act. There are penalties in there for dereliction of duty, and the MC must be up and doing with her job to ensure that in her jurisdiction actions like this do not happen. I'm sure she herself would be abhorred by the content that has been put up there, and that's why we're asking not just that MC but all district chief executives and municipal chief executives to take keen interest in what kind of material goes up in their assemblies or their jurisdictions, because I mean, it means anybody at all can just wake up and pay an advertising company and put up any kind of advert in this country. I mean, what kind of country are we running?
What effort have you made to get in touch with this MC to understand what the issues are?
Well, the coalition has sent a statement. That's the National Coalition on the Promotion of Proper Ghanaian Sexual Values and proper human sexual values, has sent, that Moses Forman's group has sent a copy of their letter to the MC. We want to believe that the MC must be up and doing. This has been in the media space for, like I said, almost 96 hours. Today is the 4th day since this came into the media space. The MC cannot say that she has not heard about this for 4 days. And so if she's not heard about this, if she doesn't know, this is a prominent part of her jurisdiction. If it has to take me to come from Ningo Pram and Roxanne to come from Sogah to let her know what's going on in her jurisdiction, then there are questions about her capacity to effectively run her jurisdiction.
Well, convener of the National Coalition on Proper Rights, Sexual Human Rights and Ghanaian Family Values, Moses Forman, has actually charged the Akufo-Addo administration to live to the dictates of the battle is the Lord's mantra, which signifies the utmost trust in the dictates of the Lord's teachings. Meanwhile, President of the LGBT plus rights Ghana, Lex Donko, indicates that the group will actually put up the billboards when he was reacting to the issues. Listen.
Question is, what was the message on that billboard that is incriminating or that is criminal, so much so that they are calling on the police to pull down the billboard? And one will ask that a country that is so outraged over a billboard that speaks about love, tolerance, acceptance, as compared to all the negative experiences that we're experiencing in this country, is one that we really need to critically ask ourselves these hard questions. That where does our priorities lies? Which part of those rights, responsibilities, and even in our criminal code, have we breached any part of it as a result of mounting that billboard?
Well, it's a good time now to take a look at the 2021 report of the LGBT community, which says it is fully established in Ghana with some pro-LGBT institutions already set up. Well, Kofi Ajay of our research desk has been reading that document. Fascinating findings in there. Yeah. But Kofi, let's start off from the genesis. Why are we seeing this report that we're seeing today?
All right, so we've been gleaning data from the 2021 report from the International Lesbian Gays Association, their report, and it says that in Ghana they have at least 3 organizations or centers, and the first one is the Center for Democratic Empowerment, and second is the OHF Initiative Ghana, and then also we have the Solace Initiative International, which is also in Ghana.
Right.
Then if you look at the report, you can also see the income and also their expenditure globally.
Oh, so there's funding.
Of course. So
right.
Globally, they are saying they earn somewhere around 24.5 million Ghana cedis, and that's in 2021, and they expended an amount of 17 million. So if you do the math, that's more or less like a profit.
And it's interesting looking at the African countries in there as well.
Exactly.
It's not just Ghana.
It's not just
from
Ghana.
What we're seeing.
Yeah. But let me also paint some global pictures.
Right.
So globally, there are 69 UN member states, that still criminalize, consensual same-sex marriage act between adults. And then also, if you look at the same report, it says that in 6 UN member states, we have death penalty being legally, prescribed punishment for people who participate in LGBTQI plus, activities. And we can mention some of the African countries. There's Nigeria, and you can also mention Saudi Arabia. You can mention Yemen. And I've also been looking at countries. We were talking about the rainbow color. Yeah. So let's look at the recognition of rainbow colors across the globe. So we have 28 UN member states. They recognize same-sex marriage. And then also we have 34, UN member states that provide protection and partnership for these people. Right. And we have 28 states have joint adoption laws, while 32 states allow for same-sex marriage to also continue in their country.
Well, what I'm interested in is finding out what the future looks like. Are they talking about their strategies and possibly what we should be expecting from the groups in the coming days?
Well, they spoke about that, and then they're saying they've made an improvement. If you read the report, it says that they are currently in about 129 countries globally. That should tell you that they've made an improvement compared to their membership and then their presence in countries in 2019, 2018, or 2017. So, generally, they've made an improvement in terms of their presence in countries, trying to find protection for their members and all those things.
And controversially in Ghana as well. Why were they silent on the exact locations?
Well, I'm not sure they would want to put that in, but they've stated categorically that they have 3, associations or centers in Ghana that, they are recognized by the association globally. Yeah.
Anyway, Kofi Ajay is with our research desk here at JoyNews. It's a good time now to speak to Isaac Boamadako, convener of the Journalists Against LGBTQ. Thank you, sir, for your time. So here we are. It appears that although we are flippant about it, dismissive about it, the group says, the LGBT group says, we're present in Ghana. What does that mean to you? Isaac, so I'm trying to find out what it means to you in terms of the figures. But just before we get back to Isaac will be joining us once more. It appears we're having some challenges. But Kofi, let's talk about the colors. Are they talking about how they could, go further, go into some schools, go into some other organizations and introduce them to the ideas and what it is that they believe in as a group?
They spoke a lot about they reaching out to youth. And so they said they've been able to reach about over 1,000 plus, youth across the globe in terms of letting them know about the LGBTQI plus community. And there are also a number of activities that they did. So at a glance, they said they are in they've done 22 workshops globally. Right. And then they've also engaged 120 stakeholders across the globe. And just like I was saying, they've engaged over 1,000, young people have been engaged in the course of the queer youth, what they call the dialogue. So they've had a number of dialogues trying to educate people about the LGBTQI plus community and their activities. And so if you should look at the report, you could see
Were they able to give some breakdown in even the disparities amongst even the groups itself? The LGBTQ, we know it's a community of not just the gays, the lesbians, but we have queer people as well, and some other persons who have varied sexual preference. Did they give some highlights on that as well?
If you look at the name, the name is ILGA, which probably was just International Lesbians probably community, but now you see an extension, LGBTQI plus.
So the variations are then added on.
So the report also mentioned that it's still growing. They are still adding up, and
they are still open to more.
That's why there's a plus.
Anyway, Isaac Boama is convener of the Journalists Against LGBT, joining us now. Isaac, so it appears that the community says they're thriving. Even here in Ghana as well, we understand that there are about 3 different groups. What does that mean to you as convener for the Journalists Against LGBTQ? Isaac, you'd have to unmute so we can hear you. Isaac, I'm asking, first of all, what this means to you as a convener of the Journalists Against LGBTQ. Obviously, Isaac would be having some more issues to say, but Kofi, obviously, more issues that you're unraveling in that report. I guess there are some other points that we've been missing all this while, in terms of perhaps the perception, public perception, and how they've been, the public has been receiving persons of this varied sexual preference. Have they talked about that as well?
Explicitly, there wasn't anything on, perception measurement, but let me take you to their expenses. For 2021, and that's somewhere around 2 million the Swiss franc. If you bring it to Ghana cedis, that's
quite a significant amount.
17.5 million Ghana cedis. And let's look at the areas that these expenditure went to. So governance took somewhere about 6%, and then fundraisings for members was around 7%. You can also look at support for regions. So that was somewhere around 3%. And the biggest component was programs and activities. So there are programs and activities across the globe accounted for about 81%.
Quite a significant funding going in there. Isaac is back. Isaac, I was asking about how you felt as saying convener for the Journalists Against LGBT, knowing that the group says it is well established here in Ghana.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you.
All right. So, for an entity or a company to say it is established on the soil of Ghana, you know what it means? It means it is a registered entity, a recognized one by the laws of the country. All right. My checks from the Registrar General's office and department indicate there are no associations or entities registered calling itself Center for Democratic Empowerment or OHF Initiative Ghana, a Solis initiative. So they don't exist in Ghana. We don't know them. I don't know if JoyNews, you know of them. Where is their office? Where are they located? So we can also go there and find out what actually they are doing.
But what's interesting is you as journalists are supposed to be impartial about issues. Why are you going ahead to have a predisposed position already on a matter that you're supposed to be probing, investigating, and talking much more about?
Yes, we are Ghanaians and we have morals. those who do not have morals will rally around these people and follow them and give them platforms for them to speak and to say we have to be impartial. Yes, we are partial here because we are protecting the integrity of Ghana, we are protecting the future of this country, we are protecting the children of our future leaders. But for them not to be engaged in immoral things, illegality, something that is enshrined in our constitution, something that is prohibited in our communities. And so for we journalists against LGBT to be partial here, I don't think it's anything different as others are also doing in protecting crime in their country.
And, well, in as much as you're trying to kick against the movement, we've seen the emergence of, for instance, the billboard, which is on your screens right now, telling us a message which is apparently coming through from the LGBT community here in Ghana. So it appears that they're still going ahead with their messaging and campaigning activities.
Yes, that is why our mother body, that is the Coalition Against LGBT, I've reported to the IGP for him to pull down that billboard. Advertisers Association are telling us they don't know who erected that billboard, and we have also written to the IGP for the IGP and the Ghana Police Service to take action, else the coalition will take a decision. We've given them 24 hours, and we're still waiting to hear from the police. If the police are unable to do anything, we'll take an action. And
in fact, there's the question about what's criminal on that billboard that we see on our screens right now. It's just a group of 4 persons holding hands. Excuse me if I could ask the question. It's just a group of 4 persons holding hands, and the messaging goes, you're free to laugh wherever you want to. I mean, that's not criminal in nature, in terms of the comment.
That is how you see it. But if you don't see anything criminal in it, we, the coalition, see something criminal. It is communicating something. And as you saw the billboard, what does it communicate? The colors indicate something. The colors on the billboard is telling you something. Is it not communicating anything to you?
It doesn't look like a Rastafarian color to you. It doesn't look like that to you.
Oh, come on! We know the colors of the LGBT community, and you know it.
I'm with you, Isaac.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You know it. You know the colors of the LGBT community.
I mean, it's not as though I belong to the community. So, well, if you're asking me to identify the colors, that will be difficult.
No, I'm not saying you should identify the colors. I said you know it, as a journalist, you know the colors of the LGBT. They've just taken away the blue color from it, which represents heaven. And you know.
Yes, but you'd have to prove, for instance, to the Ghana Police Service and some of the agencies that you're writing to.
We will prove this.
Exactly. So what's contained in your petition? What did you write to the Ghana Police Service?
Take action. If the police fails to take action, we will take action. The coalition would take action against the people. We are already in court. They are in court, and we are also contesting the same with them. So we don't have a problem with them erecting billboards in Ghana. They can do that all over the country, and we will also take action against them.
When you say you take action, exactly what are you driving at?
Let's wait for the 24 hours to expire.
Okay.
After that,
so this petition is to go to the IGP, I guess. How about the freedom of speech? Are you not stifling that?
They can contest their freedom if they think they have freedom to practice or do that gayism and lesbianism and whatever in this country, on this soil. They can go to court and contest. Yes, they are, I told you, they're already in the Supreme Court, and we are contesting that. So they can also go and fight for their freedom. We are fighting for the morals, we are fighting for the Ghanaian family values, we are fighting for our culture. It is you sitting there, and the whole of JoyNews, the whole of Multimedia, the future children. If we are not careful, what will happen will not be palatable, will not be good. And we should not sit down as journalists and think, oh, these people have their rights, so let's give them the space, let's be impartial, let's allow them to do this, because we as journalists, as a fourth estate of the realm, should not be impartial. But this time round, I'm calling on you, sit there, be partial against that. You know it is not right. If your mother were to have married a woman, would you have been sitting here? If your father were to have married a man, you wouldn't be sitting here doing this for Mother Ghana, serving Mother Ghana. So what we are saying is that this is illegal, and we don't know of any association in this country. We have done our checks. We don't know Center for Democratic Empowerment. We have no documents, official communication from the Registrar General's Department that there is an existing agency or company called OHF Initiative Ghana or Spanish Initiative. They are just sitting under their bed. They are just throwing dust in the eyes of the people of the world, just taking money from them. They cannot establish Ghana. Read my list. They cannot.
Okay, these are your words, but I mean there are a number of activities happening in Parliament. For some, and for those of you who believe in the proper sexual values bill, this is the time for Parliament to speed up its activities. And why not wait until that process is exhausted?
We won't wait for that process to exhaust because we are seeing the deliberate attempt to delay the bill. 3 months into this bill, the committee chairman should have reported back to the speaker. 3 months, 1 year, and nothing has been done, not even at the consideration stage. After this parliament decides, when they are out, the next parliament has to come and start everything afresh. And we know it's a deliberate attempt. They don't want President Akufo-Addo to sign to sign this into law because of his reputation as human rights lawyer. That's if the NPP, if this government fails to pass this bill, we journalists against LGBT will mount the National Democratic Congress NDC's podium and campaign for them, because the minority in Parliament have given their word that if the government or this Parliament is unable to pass this into law, no bill will sail through. And if we have taken the minority by their word, if they're able to do this, we want to assure them, journalists against LGBT, we will vote for the National Democratic Congress and we use our medium campaign for them because they are protecting the integrity of this country. They are protecting themselves. They are protecting the country. They are protecting the Ghanaian family value.
Well, at least Isaac, we've heard from the president on the matter. He says that would not happen under his tenure. He's spoken here in Ghana, giving the firm assurance. Is it that you have doubts about the commitment of the president towards
It's easier
checking?
said than done. It's easier said than done. Let the president act as he did when the e-levy was laid. The e-levy bill was laid. How they were rushed, how they rushed into passing the e-levy bill. If this is an important issue to him, and if he means his word that he, the President of the Republic of Ghana, will not step down for this LGBT thing for them to have the whatever, the President should act. He should let us see something, that he is doing something. He's quiet. In Parliament, the minority side, we believe won't fail it. But those in government, they think, they have power, they have the numbers, but the minority, we are on their side as we speak. And we want to assure them, we know that if they try as much as possible get this bill passed, and we wait for the president to assent to this bill, then we the journalists, as I indicated earlier, I keep reiterating it, I will continue reiterating this, because we will vote for them. Because they believe in Ghanaian family.
All right then. Isaac, we'll have to leave it here. Isaac Bwamadako is convener of the Journalists Against LGBTQ. Perhaps it's a time to test your views on this matter as well. What you see on your screens now, billboards supposedly being sponsored by the LGBT community. In fact, they're pointing out in the latest report that they are well established here in the country. So what's your thoughts on this? 0302-211-692 or 1. You can give us a call. The numbers are on your screens right now. Join us and share your thoughts with us on this raging issue. We've heard from some George Ningo Prampram MP indicating his displeasure for this. The IGP, as we're indicating from the petition, also from these two groups, says within 24 hours, as we're understanding from the petition, to try and do something about this. I'm not really sure the legal remits within which this would have to happen, but we'll wait to see what it is that the Ghana Police Service will do. There's 0302-211-692-691. You can just give us a call, and then we'll be availing ourselves, of course, hearing from you on this matter. A lot of you have also been commenting on social media on this matter. Perhaps we'll be taking some of the comments as they come through on this matter. But first, let me hear from Jacob. Jacob is calling us from Accra. Jacob, what do you have to share with us? Jacob, let's hear you on this matter.
Yeah, I am very appalled listening to the country rep of whatever LGBT, whatever they are saying. This country has values that we must uphold and defend. And it looks as though the majority in Parliament is not interested in passing this bill into law to prohibit this kind of unacceptable so-called values that they want to implement in this country. Already, things are hard. They shouldn't bring more case upon this country. We had enough already. So the earlier the Parliament put its head together to pass this bill into law, the better for all of us. Pampers is already expensive. You can't have adults wearing pampers and then it will be increasing the price in the country. You cannot have that. Thank you.
Anyway, I'm not too sure what that means, but thanks for joining us. That's Jacob. Reverend Bediako is joining us from Ukoko. Reverend?
Hello.
Yes, Reverend, let's hear you.
Yeah. My worry is I don't know what is going on. What we are seeing on the screen now. And so...
Yes, Reverend, we can hear you. Just go ahead.
Yeah. My worry is for them to come out even boldly to say that if Ghana is espousing human rights, I don't really know what they are looking for. And I don't know what our leaders are out for. Is it true that they are taking certain money, some money somewhere, and they don't want to tell us as Ghanaians? Hello? Yes.
You're asking whether they have money from somewhere? I'm not too sure because
so what to know whether our authorities, our leaders, have taken money somewhere, and they don't want to tell us.
Well, I guess they'll
very much outraged. It is madness to see people coming out boldly even to speak about this. That we have 3 offices in Ghana.
Okay. Reverend is incensed about this.
No,
Mohammed.
They are killing the country slowly.
Right. Okay. Reverend, thank you for joining us. Mohammed is joining us from Yendi. Mohammed.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, Mohammed.
Yeah, in fact, we have no trust in the Akufo-Addo government again. What they are bringing to the country, I don't think is in line with our traditions.
But Mohammed, are you being fair to government on this? There's no explicit part of that report which says that the establishment of the office was done through a tacit approval from the presidency or government. I mean, we need to state that very clearly.
I'll say that when we hear the allegations about terrorism coming in, hello.
Yes, I'm with you, Mohammed.
Yeah, when we hear about the allegations of terrorists coming into the country, the government was quickly to started putting up measures. Now, this thing has been with us for about 2 years, getting to 2 years or more now. We haven't heard anything saying by the government or anything that the Akufo-Addo government is putting in place to tell the people that, oh, this is not our tradition, so we cannot support it. So now they are going up there, mounting billboards and other things. It indicates that they have secure support from the government.
Well,
so we are telling the government that it should come up. Let us hear from his stand about the matter.
Right. I guess that's a very valid call to be making now. In fact, in terms of government position, once more on this matter. Sure. Gracious is giving us a call from Tamale.
Thank you.
So from Yendi, we go to Tamale. Gracious, what do you have to share with us? Gracious, let's hear you. Okay, Gracious, if you can hear me, I'm just asking what your thoughts are on this matter. We've lost Gracious. Okay, yes, so Gracious, yes, let's hear you.
They said they are in Ghana. Where exactly are they? We can't see them. Yeah, where exactly are they? We can't see them.
Gracious, I'm not sure if you're asking me to find their offices for you, but in case we have that update, I'll definitely give you that. But share your thoughts with us.
I also want to know where exactly the billboard is.
Gracious. I'm sorry, but that's not possible now. Gracious, thank you for giving us a call, but we're grateful that you've been able to join us here on The Pulse. Thanks for staying here on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly. We'll talk about some more issues. Please stay. And welcome back to The Pulse. Now, this afternoon, there's a big push for government to implement laws that require the state to fully pay for medical care of victims of domestic violence, even though there are laws that provide for free medical care for such victims. Many, if not all, health facilities in Ghana charge exorbitant fees before attending to victims of domestic violence, and in most instances, before issuing a medical report to facilitate legal processes. That has been topical in the discussions here in Accra as Plan Ghana seeks the support of stakeholders to get government to implement those laws in a stringent manner. Shortly, we'll be hearing from the group. We'll be speaking to the country director for Plan Ghana. But first, my colleague Maxwell Kudeko sat through the engagement today, joins us via Zoom. Maxwell, first of all, let's understand why stakeholders are actually concerned about this situation.
Well, there has been a major challenge with respect to seeking justice for victims or survivors of domestic violence. One of the major challenges has to do with gathering of evidence for prosecution, especially when it comes to issues of rape. And you know, by law, you need to prove by evidence that indeed there has been a penal penetration. But coming forth on this particular evidence has become a problem for the justice delivery system. Now, the issue is that most of these health facilities, whose duty is it to produce this medical report and also to care for victims or survivors of domestic violence, are charging exorbitant fees. Meanwhile, there are provisions in Ghana that provide for free medical care for victims of domestic violence, and for that matter, rape. So if you look at Section 8.3 of the Domestic Violence Act 2007, Act 7.3, it says that victims of domestic violence who is being assisted by the police to obtain medical treatment under subsection 1C is entitled to free medical treatment. However, when you go to the hospitals, the norm is that medical officials has to charge money, even though you reported to the police station with a medical report, they still have to take money. And in most cases, especially in rural Ghana, some of these victims do not have money to afford for this kind of services. So in the end, they are denied healthcare, and then also justice is being denied. There are several other laws, including the Domestic Violence Regulation 2016, LI 2237. It's stated in Regulation 3. It also provides for free medical care. So this has been a challenge for people who are in the business of providing or protecting the interests of survivors of medical, or domestic violence. So Plan Ghana initiated this conversation with stakeholders, including the Ghana Medical Association, people from the Domestic Violence Victim Support Unit, members of Parliament, and then the Attorney General, and then also other legal practitioners, to fashioning out a way to ensure that these laws that provide for free medical care is being actually implemented in order to seek for the healthcare of victims or survivors of domestic violence. The argument has been that there has never been a day or an incident in the history of the medical or healthcare in Ghana where government has initiated move to provide for funding for some of these victims. The hospital need to find money to cater for all of this. So the conversation has been that, is it possible to...
Yeah, and I guess, Maxwell, it's a good time to also hear from the group itself, Plan Ghana, which is making such a huge statement, asking government to consider making that medical cost-free. Is that feasible at a time when government says it has a tight fiscal space? Joining us now is Solomon Chesfa Mariam. Thank you for your time. He's actually the country director for Plan Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us. So first of all, where do we start from? You want an outright law stating that, or perhaps we start on a pilot basis, perhaps?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us for this engagement. And I truly appreciate the fact that Maxwell was with us this morning. I think he articulated well. I think maybe from my side, given the fact that Plan International as an organization, specifically in Ghana, we're all about justice for children and equality between girls and boys. But we also put a lot of focus in terms of making sure that girls have the same right. And in connection with our current strategy for Ghana, young people will have a big say. The foundation of our work is really sponsorship, where quite a number of people outside Ghana have been sponsoring children. Most of the children that we supported many years ago have become adults. And we've actually initiated an alumni group that will unite with our youth group to raise some of the pertinent issues that affect young people in general in Ghana.
Right, and I guess
within that broader sense, girls, boys and women issue. So the issues that we actually engaged this morning was really critical because there is a strong belief, not only by our organization, by young people in Ghana, to actually eliminate all forms of payment when victims are actually approaching a medical facility to get medical treatment. The finding is, it was kind of surprising for most of us, but even for this wonderful medical doctor that was there, that the law has basically a provision, but it's basically the implementation which has been a challenge. So one strong recommendation that we came up today is how do we make sure that the law is fully implemented and the resources are also available to the medical facilities. And that is really one of the findings that we've had today. But it also means that we still have a lot more work that needs to be done to ensure that this is communicated across all health facilities in Ghana, but also to ensure that the funds are actually released in a very timely manner so that girls and women are well protected and are getting the necessary medical care, and that the perpetrators can actually come into accountability and I
guess that's why I'm very much interested in the approach and where to start from.
I think where we started is really a perfect place. But the second component, which is really critical, is for the Attorney General or for the Minister of Justice to communicate this clearly to all medical facilities. That is really a very critical component in this discussion.
Well, but given the situation in the country, what's your assessment of the issues of abuse and some of the reports that you're getting? What's your clear assessment of what's happening in the country?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we found out, reflecting just in the last 2 years, we were not only suffering as a result of a public health crisis with COVID-19, but definitely there were also quite a number of girls and women who were abused. And that is really the reality that we've seen. But I'm sure as a journalist, you must be able to see what's really happening. We see all forms of violence against girls and women in Ghana. And definitely there is far more that needs to be done by the critical elements of the Ghanaian institutions, the police force, parents, communities, traditional leaders, to actually prevent this kind of abuse and violence against girls and women. And that is really such a critical element in terms of addressing the root causes of this kind of violence against girls and women.
And how far would you say we're away from that target?
I think there is definitely a growing commitment. And the fact that it was clear to us this morning that the government has actually a provision for it. But it doesn't help that we have the provision and the legal instruments. But the critical element is we also need to make a commitment to make it happen. That the resources are available, the resources are released, and that there is far more need for engagement to address this at rural as well as urban setup.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it here, but we're grateful that you've been able to share your concerns with us. Now, let's turn our attention to the environment. The Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, the CPF, is asking the government of Ghana to rescind its decision to proceed with the intended plans to mine bauxite in the Etiwa landscape. Now, in 2018, the government of Ghana signed a deal with the People's Republic of China that actually seeks to involve hydro power company Sino Hydro building some infrastructure across the country through a loan which will be repaid from receipts including Ghana's refined bauxite. Now, Etiwa Range Forest is earmarked as one of the source sites of raw materials. However, speaking at a news conference earlier today on the sidelines of a biodiversity conference for West African civil societies organizations here in Accra, working in the Guinean forest region, Oliver Langrad, Executive Director for the Critical Ecosystems Partnership Fund, says the Ghanaian authorities are pursuing a short-term gain instead of the immense benefits of Etiwa landscape, which could be explored.
Much for the question, and this question about the exploitation of some very important biodiversity-rich area like Etiwa Forest in Ghana is not a unique situation, unfortunately, that is limited to Ghana. We have seen it in many other places. I think that the message to the government of Ghana is to realize the importance of these natural forests as important reservoir for biodiversity. And this biodiversity is not only important for intrinsic value, but also for the ecosystem services that this forest is providing to a very large number of people. If you look at Etiwa Forest, there are many different rivers coming out of this forest. If you cut down the forest, not only you lose biodiversity, but you lose these essential ecosystem services that Etiwa Forest is providing. And who's going to provide this freshwater water that is needed by the communities, and by people living in urban centers, once these rivers sources have dried out. So that's a very important issue, and I'm afraid that it's a short-term profit that is taking over the long-term view of the economic development of a country. So natural capital needs to be managed, for the long run. And we should not, authorize illegal logging or illegal mining in important biodiversity areas that are essential for the communities and for people at large. So I think that I would certainly urge the government of Ghana to reconsider the degazettement of Etiwa and making sure that it's managed for the long run for the essential ecosystem services that this forest provides. A local organization, Arosha, is based near Etiwa Forest, is working very closely with the forestry department to try and find solution. But, at the end, it's the government that will decide, what is the future of Etiwa. And I sincerely hope that they will, look at the importance of it and will change their mind regarding this, the decision that they are about to take to degazette the Etiwa Forest. Partnership Fund is a fund that is a result of the investment of several global donors. 6 global donors are contributing to the CPF. The government of France, Agence Française de Développement, the government of Japan, the European Union, the World Bank, the Global Environment Facility, and Conservation International. And Conservation International is an NGO based in the US that is also hosting the Secretariat of CPF. Our mandate is to support biodiversity conservation in the biodiversity hotspot of the planet. There are 36 of these biodiversity hotspots worldwide, and one is the Guinean forest hotspots that spans across 11 countries, starting east to Cameroon and ending west to Sierra Leone. It's a very important hotspot. It's a hotspot for biodiversity. It means that it's a very high density of species of plants and animals, most of them being unique to these hotspots. That is the reason why we are supporting civil society to support the conservation of biodiversity. We have been in existence for 21 years. We have invested $277 million to support 2,500 civil society groups. That's worldwide in 25 biodiversity hotspots. We have been investing in the region of the Guinean forest hotspot since 2001, and this investment is going to the support of small civil society organizations, NGOs, community groups, even small business partners are receiving funding to implement conservation projects to improve the situation of biodiversity, to improve the situation of the communities, because it's important that the biodiversity is an element of the economic development and human well-being. We're also promoting sustainable financing system, like, for example, payment for ecosystem services, in order to secure long-term funding for conservation. And finally, obviously a very important element, we are promoting the capacity building of the NGOs to improve their capacity to implement projects, to improve their capacity to raise funds from different sources. So that's what we're doing globally. I mentioned that we have been supporting civil society organizations since 2001 in the Guinean forest hotspot. And we just finished the last phase, that was 5 years, that started in 2016 and ends in 2022. And that's something that the purpose of this workshop here was to review the progress and to look at the future of the support that civil society organizations must continue receiving from international donors in order to make sure that we capitalize on the progress made. So I have here, a number of my colleagues who have been deeply involved in the implementation.
And now the Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Engineer Charles Krikwa, has actually rebutted claims that the Ghana Meteo Agency has actually is indebted to them to the tune of some 80 million Ghana cedis. He says that the Civil Aviation Authority and GMET have both agreed to undertake some reconciliatory exercises before the final decision about the payment plan is taken. Earlier this week, the GMET was demanding the payment of some 80 million cedis in debt owed by the Civil Aviation Authority and the Ghana Airports Company Limited. According to the Director General of the Ghana Meteo Agency, Eric Asuman, the amended act of the Meteo Agency enjoins the two organizations to pay his agency a percentage of every fee they charge in their operations.
Good morning and welcome to the AM show. Recently, the Ghana Meteorological Agency has been doing relatively well in terms of helping us understand how our weather is going to be on a daily basis. So we need to appreciate them and also ask them that we demand more in terms of whatever they deliver to us. And in the operations, are there other issues that we need to understand, other challenges, and how these challenges can be surmounted so that they become the excellent agency that we all pray they become? So we are here today with the Director General of the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Mr. Eric Asuman, to understand how the issues are. So Mr. Eric Asuman is here with us today. We are grateful to have him and for him to agree to speak to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And congrats too.
Thank you for acknowledging the efforts that we are making.
In terms of the scheme of things, where do you see Meteo now in terms of how you are able to give us an update on our weather?
as you actually said, Ghana Meteorological Agency is doing well these days. In fact, all the feedback we get these days are positive. We are, delivering the forecasts and the warnings, and they are coming as, we deliver them. So we are trying our best given the circumstances that we find ourselves.
Okay. Some time ago we didn't believe Meteo and the things they give us. What has changed that now you seem to be getting the information accurately in terms of the weather changes?
Well, GMET is evolving. It's evolving. We used to use a manual way of, collecting our data and analyzing our data and coming out with a forecast. Now we are automating gradually, and so we still have manual system, but blend with automatic system, and we are getting a lot more meteorologists in the system. It used to be physicists and mathematics students who come and they are trained in meteorology. Fortunately, now we have our KNUST and UCC producing fresh meteorologists, for us. So in terms of human resource, there's an improvement. In terms of technology and equipment, there's improvement. But there's a lot more that needs to be done to get us to the level that we really want to get. But at least you can see the trajectory that there's improvement, and that gives us the hope that with little effort and support, GMET will be the institution of choice that Ghanaians will like to have and depend on for their weather information, for planning of their lives and activities, and to save life and property.
So if I'm home, I'm thinking, how do these people do their work? How do you do it?
That's a very complex system. In fact, we start by collecting data, weather parameters, and we have about 22 synoptic stations across the country. And these stations collect all the weather parameters that is required for you to be able to come up with a forecast. So we talk about the temperatures, the relative humidity, we talk about the wind and wind direction, wind speed, and we collect all these data across the country with staff who man these stations 24/7. And so these stations are now being automated in a way. They bring this data to the center, as in headquarters and our office in Kotoka International Airport. And we have a central analysis forecast office where we have the meteorologist. At this point, this meteorologist receive this data and then analyze this data. In fact, this data is key into the global telecommunication system, which scientists use this data among data from various parts of the world to run models and give us the results of these models that can scale down on regional and then on a country basis. So you get these models, products, analyze them with your ground data information, with satellite images, and then be able to come out with a forecast. And so that's the process that it goes through. And so the data you are collecting is critical. If you don't collect appropriate and correct data, it will affect the results. The logistics you need to be able to process this data is critical in technology and equipment, critical. And then the human side of it, the meteorologists with the skills needed to analyze this data and be able to then churn out the forecast. It's very critical for our operation.
So the modeling is not done in Ghana?
Also, there are global modeling and ones that we are trying to do here. In fact, we have an office, NWP, numerical weather modeling unit, and we started trying to downscale, so as I said, global to Africa and then to the country level. In the country level, we want to also run our own models with our own local data. And so we started. But we have problem with our servers and some few challenges, so that has gone down a little. But fortunately for us, just last week, we got a new server, which we are yet to install to run that models for us. Okay. And that will go to support what we get from global level. And that will make it more accurate than depending on the global one. Even though we will have the global one. So you take the global one, add our own ground data and information to run our own model to feed into our forecasting.
So for now, if you are giving us the weather update for tomorrow, it means it's you collected the data here, then you took it you put it in that global system for the global system to give you the outcome that you can interpret it to know what's going to happen here.
Not necessarily. So the global outputs will show you the way the system looks like. And so we have some places where we have high pressures and low pressures that you see from the global system. For the global system, you see the wind directions and the wind speed. So with that information, with your meteorologists, they analyze that information to see that, okay, if we have a high pressure in an area, it may not yield to rainfall, or low pressure is in this location. So you get this from the global products. Yes, then based on that, you do your own analysis with the conditions in the areas that you have identified from this global product that you are seeing, with some satellite images and some the wind direction, as I said, and then the clouds available that your staff has gotten that information for you to be able to then come to the point that this is likely to happen at this place or at this time.
So the ones that we pick, do we also have models for that, like local models where we don't need to rely on the foreign, the global system interpreting the data we have for us?
So we don't directly interpret the global models to our people.
Okay.
We process it. So it feeds into the analysis that we make.
You do.
It helps because we need to narrow the analysis to a certain parameters.
Okay.
And so it helps you to know that, well, there's high pressure here, there's low pressure here. And so if there's low pressure, what are the likelihood of rains? What are the prevailing condition in that low pressure area? And how is that going to, culminate into generating rainfall? You want to know the moisture level in the atmosphere around that area, the temperatures and the wind directions and the activities that are going around. So if even we get our full local model running, you'll still need the global information. We still need it, whether it's not limited to one country. Yes, it's global.
So you are told what's coming in from Togo.
So you normally hear there's a system moving from the eastern, propagating to the west. And so eastern, you are talking about Nigeria coming through Benin, Togo. You are monitoring it. You are looking at the wind speed and you are calculating that with this kind of speed, by this calculation, by this time, you should hit this locality. Yes, so we will still need that to help us do the analysis because it's global. One thing that have happened in another locality affects another locality. Yes. So.
In research and in predictions, we do have margins of error.
Sure.
When you are predicting, what's your margin of error?
So of late, if we see our forecast, now we call it impact-based forecasting, where we are not telling you what the weather is going to be, but what the weather is going to do. And so we say we give a probabilistic forecast. All right, so you see our forecast indicating 60% and above chance of occurrence of the prediction we have given, or between 40 and 60% chance of occurrence, or below 40% chance of occurrence. And so we give these predictions and give these probabilities for you to know that, well, if it's 60% and above, there's a high level chance, or sometimes we even give 80%, especially when it's warnings. You can say 90% chance of this system happening. And so it helps you to know that there are percentages of occurrence of the phenomenon that you are predicting.
Well, Engineer Kweku says he's bemused about the outburst of the Director General of the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Eric, assuming he spoke to my colleague Samuel Kojobris.
So thank you very much for agreeing to speak to us. We've listened to the Director General of the Ghana Metro Agency. The thing is, he says there are some monies that have to come to them that have not come. So why this development?
Yeah, it's true that in 2019 there was amendment to the GMET Act. In the Act, Ghana Civil Aviation is to give them a portion of our aeronautical revenues. So what we did was that we had a meeting with GMET, including the DG himself, and I had a meeting personally with him, and we all agree that we're going to do a reconciliation of the figures. So the two teams, our finance team and their finance team, have been meeting, and they are yet to come out with figures. So I was surprised that he's mentioning figures, 60 million, 80 million, and I've never seen that figure. So until they conclude on that reconciliation meeting, we have no figure. And from there we can come out with a payment plan on how to go forward with payment. So that is where we are. Okay. And we are still talking, I'm still talking with the DG. Before we come out with a payment plan and we finish the reconciliation, we've been giving them some payments. And the last payment that we gave him was 400,000 Ghana cedi. That was in March. And he can confirm as well that we've given them some payment. And apart from that, we've been supporting them in their maintenance activities. We are buying new equipment for them. We are supporting their training activities, both local and external. And sometimes even their external obligations, they come here for support. So we've been doing that. So I'm surprised that he's saying that we are not forthcoming. We have been having meetings with them. I've been having meetings with the DG, and my two finance teams have been meeting, and very soon we'll come with a figure after the reconciliation, and then we'll come out with a payment plan. So that is where we are. So for now, that's the only thing I can say, that we are waiting for the teams to come out with a figure. But the figure he's mentioning, I don't think is the truth. But when we come out with the figure, we'll come out with a payment plan. And as I said before then, before the conclusion of the two finance team coming out with the figures, we have started even giving them some payments. So
those monies that you give them are for what?
Yeah, for equipment, to support the procuring of equipment, as well as for their maintenance activities, because they provide services to civil aviation. And as part of the act, we had to give them a portion of aeronautical revenues. So that is what we are doing, and we will continue to do that.
So if they are quoting a certain figure, and I'm sure you also know at roughly how much comes in, how much is it likely that it's possible you may be owing them?
I can't tell. I can't tell. That's why I've given the tax to the two finance team. So my finance team, I've been meeting with them, as I said earlier, and they will come out with a figure. The figure he's mentioning, I can attest to that, and I can confirm that. They will come out with a figure, and the two teams will meet, and then we'll come out with a payment plan. And as I said earlier, even before that, we've started giving them some monies. We've been paying them, and the last payment that we made was in March, and we will continue paying them until we come out of a figure that will be agreed by both teams.
What kind of service do they render to you?
Yeah, meteorological services. They provide information on weather to the airlines, and we are supposed to pay them for that services that they provide.
Also, the services are provided for the airlines, not for you?
Not for us per se, it's for the airlines.
Okay. Yeah. So how come you are the ones who have to
pay? But that's what the law says, that we have to pay for that services. So, in fact, before the amendment came, we all sat down, both ministries sat down, and we decided that this is how we should go. It's in a way of also supporting their activities. And you know that they provide very important services to the airlines, especially the aircraft, and as the provider of air navigation services for the whole Accra flight information region, we have to also support them, and that is what we've been doing. So since 2019 that amendment came into force, you all know what happened in 2020. The COVID came in. The airport was closed from March to September, and our revenues come from the provision of air navigation services, as well as also the safety charges from passengers. And that time there were no passengers, so our revenue moved from 100% to 5%. So we all suffered, and we've been explaining to them that we are now picking up, so they should give us time. We will come out with a payment plan that we all will support and we all agree. So they've agreed. So I don't know why they are saying that they agreed with us. We've exchanged letters, and our two teams are meeting constantly, and we are making payments even before they conclude on the meetings. So that is what we are doing at the moment. So if they say we owe them, I cannot say we owe, because we haven't concluded on any figure. If we conclude on that figure, then we will know whether we owe them this amount or that amount. So until then, we cannot put our hands on any figure. Yeah.
So effectively, about a half of 2019, and then 2021 to 20, because 2020, like you said.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. 2020, our revenues are now picking up, and the industry hasn't gotten to the first quarter of 2019 or first quarter of 2020 as passenger throughput. It hasn't got to that level, and we hope that it will get to that level very soon. But until then, we are managing with whatever we have. But it's picking up. Started picking up from the beginning of the year, and we hope that by the end of the year we'll have reached the level that we were before COVID. But they should be patient with us. We will pay them. Even during the difficult period of COVID in 2020, we were still making payment to them. Although we had almost zero revenues, but we were making payment to them, so they should bear with us.
Okay, my final question. When is it likely that you finish with reconciliation so that they can get the payment and then they can go about their operations?
Yes, so what we are doing is the reconciliation is ongoing between the two teams, and I cannot put a definite date or definite time to that. But what I will say is that as soon as possible, they will conclude on the discussion, the reconciliation activities, and as soon as they conclude, then we'll come out with a premium plan based on also our revenues, and we will start. But as I said, even before then, we have some payment that we've been making to them, and the last one was in March, as I said earlier. So we will not wait until they conclude on the reconciliation. We will still be making payment. They might say it's not enough and all that, but we have also gone through difficult period during the COVID. We are all coming up of the industry. We went down, as I said, from 100% to 5%. But we are now picking up. We are somewhere between 40–50%, and we are operating on that revenue figure. But whatever we get, we also release some money to them, and we'll continue to do that until we get a final figure on how much we owe them. Then we come out of a payment plan.
Why not support them in terms of equipment so they can better serve you?
Yes, we've been doing it. In fact, I said it in my earlier comment that we've been buying equipment for them. In fact, a couple of years ago, we bought an equipment for them which is called an AWOS, which they are using, and we are maintaining them, and we send them outside for training. We paid for everything. We paid their ticket and everything, the cost of the training, and we are maintaining them. Apart from buying equipment, we also help them in maintenance of other facilities, and we also help them in training. In fact, when there's an opportunity for them to go outside to train, we assist them. When recently they had a challenge in payment of their dues to World Meteorological Agency, and we help them. We pay that amount for them, and we've been doing that. Even in our premises, we don't charge them rent. They are we provide electricity free for them. We provide condition, all the facilities we provide for them. We don't charge them anything. All this we do to also help them and to do their work efficiently. So that is what we've been doing.
Thank you, sir.
Well, government says its new student loan scheme, which requires no guarantor, will eliminate the inability of Student Loan Trust Fund to recover a chunk of the loans advanced to tertiary students. And that the new scheme, which eliminates existing protocols where one qualifies after submitting guarantors, beneficiaries will need only the Ghana card to qualify. According to Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, recovery is assured with the new arrangement. My colleague Meteorological has more in the following report.
The no guarantor student loan scheme is expected to eliminate existing loan protocols that require guarantors and increase students' chances of accessing loans. Under the new arrangement, eligible beneficiaries will only need their Ghana cards to apply for loans before admission into tertiary institutions. Dr. Bawumia says the introduction of the new scheme is a confirmation of government's quest to build a database economy with digitalization as an anchor. According to him, recovery of student loans is assured under the new scheme.
When we said that we are entering the fourth industrial revolution and we are going to build a data-based economy with digitalization as the anchor, many people didn't quite understand it. There's no viable economy in this fourth industrial revolution that will not be a digitalized economy. If you don't digitalize, you can forget it. Because you are dealing with data. How do we know who the students are or where they are? The Ghana card gives us all the data we need about the student to take a decision on their loans. And we are very confident that that card provides us all the information we will need to recover the loans.
Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei Educhum believes more qualified students can now access tertiary education, and this will give a push to Ghana's transformational agenda.
Today is a watershed moment in the history of this nation. The promises that were made in Cape Coast by the Vice President is a promise that was kept to ensure that we can open the floodgates of tertiary education to everyone in this country. That really doesn't matter which side of town you were born, rich or poor, you have access to tertiary education, and God help us if we're able to move our tertiary education to 40% and beyond, this country's transformation will become a reality. So the foundations that have been laid by this government under the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is geared toward the total transformation of this nation. It's not a political gimmick.
The National Union of Ghana Students, NUGS, has hailed the new student loan scheme. Dennis Apialabi Ampofo is president.
From us at the National Union of Ghana Students, we want to make one thing clear and simple. We are hugely grateful, and on the behalf of the 10 million students of the Republic of Ghana, we say God bless every single person who's been a part of this initiative and ensure that this happens today, and we are here smiling.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Meteorological reporting.
Well, time now to talk about what's happening elsewhere. This week, would like to focus on how some European cities are coping with the arrivals of Ukrainian refugees. Now, the numbers have dropped compared to the beginning of the war, but thousands are still coming each week, and some cities are starting to feel the strain and discussing how to help those fleeing actually in the long term. So, how are refugees still coming to terms with the EU's position? Let's hear from our partners. DW on this. Thank you for joining us. Now, how are the refugees dealing with the matters?
It is obviously difficult to know exactly how many are crossing borders within the European Union on a daily or a weekly basis, but according to the United Nations, around 5 million people coming from Ukraine have left Ukraine since the war began. Now, many of those have actually returned to Ukraine, with the United Nations also saying that around 2 million border crossings towards Ukraine have been registered so far. The big question is how to continue to help those who are planning to stay in different countries for a longer term. Obviously, the most affected countries are those that are closer to Ukraine. So, for example, Poland in the European Union, or Moldova, which is not a member of the European Union. But here in Germany, it is also a topic that is being debated and discussed, how to help those that are still here, that are still coming to the country, not only in the immediate term, but also on the medium to long term as well.
There is a concern about how the city is actually planning to help refugees in the long term. What do you have to say about that?
So the first initial step is obviously how to help those who are arriving, providing temporary housing or providing immediate assistance. But there is an understanding that a percentage of those who are coming or who have come already are planning to stay on the long term. And as such, then, the process of integration has to be one that is discussed, that is planned very carefully, and that involves not only housing. Many of those who have arrived are staying in temporary accommodation with friends or relatives, or in some cases also in hotels. So housing, one important topic, but also how to make sure that those who are here can then become part of the workforce. Here in Germany, for example, an important question is how to make sure that those who are here can learn German and can then apply for specific jobs. But as you mentioned in your introduction, there is certainly the case that cities are starting to feel the strain. They are asking for more help also from local, from regional, from national authorities, in particular when it comes to housing, to education, and again to the topic of the workforce.
Well, Thomas, obviously I'm sure that there's a lot of reaction from the public. What's, the public opinion on the matter?
It is one of the, let's say, least controversial issues here. If you look at the war in Ukraine, some of the issues that are more controversial are what kinds of weapons have to be sent to Ukraine, or how the government can help in one way or another. So basically across Europe, and in particular here in Germany, when it comes to the issue of refugees, people are more than happy to welcome those. In fact, surveys have revealed that Germans are happier to receive Ukrainians compared to the 2015 and 16 influx of refugees back then, and they're also interested in helping them in the medium to long term. But the questions, as we've stressed before, are how to make sure that that help can continue beyond the immediate assistance that we clearly saw at the beginning of the war back in February and March, and can continue as well in the coming months and in the coming years.
Sparrow, with our partners Deutsche Welle. Thank you for joining us. Well, you're still with us here on The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly after this break.